This podcast was brought to you by Outsider. Check us out at www.outsider.com. Outsider is an outdoor lifestyle brand owned and operated by me, retired Navy SEAL Sam Mackey, and my dear friend and former NFL quarterback Jay Cutler. At Outsider, we encourage everyone to get outside and enjoy all that life has to offer. Head over to outsider.com to check out our unique patent-pending drinkware. Outsider's drinkware can be customized with your personal or business logo. Go to outsider.com, upload your logo, and we will send you visual proofs and great wholesale pricing. And don't forget, get outside and enjoy all that life has to offer. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Take It Outside podcast, and Happy New Year. I'm your host, Sam Mackey, and my co-host, Smokin' Jay Cutler, is in Utah skiing without a helmet. That's what all the comments said in a post we made on Music Monday, but I think he's been hit a time or two, so he's okay with that. All right, our next guest, his debut album comes out January 17th, and is titled All I've Ever Known. He broke into the scene in a TikTok frenzy when he posted a video of him singing his song, Chevrolet You Down. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ryan Waters.
How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
I appreciate you coming on, my man.
Heck yeah.
Good.
Glad to be here, dude.
Yeah, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, a crazy one now.
Yeah.
All this ice and snow that's on the way.
I know. The kids didn't have school yesterday. It kind of threw a damper in the workday, but they played outside all day, so it was all right. What'd you do for Christmas?
I was actually down in Alabama. Me and my fiance traveled down there. You know, her folks live there in Birmingham, and mine are a little bit further south down in Laverne. But we got to share both Christmases, you know, with both families. And you know,
how far away is Laverne from Birmingham?
From Birmingham is probably about an hour and 45 minutes. It's not too awfully bad to travel, but it's crazy in the holidays. You know how it is with family and all going back and forth, and it's just chaotic, especially when you've got women like we've got in our life that want to get everybody in the family something. It's crazy.
Do you buy any gifts?
Very little.
Yeah.
Very little. I'm actually more of the here's some money.
Yep.
go get mom and dad something, and I let her figure that out. But she's been good at it.
Now you're from Alabama, correct?
I am.
Laverne is
Laverne.
Okay. What was growing up in Laverne like? What's Laverne like? I never heard of it.
Laverne it's a very small town.
Yeah.
I think the last I checked, I get a wild hair every now and then just to see what the population is. I think it was like a little over 2,500 people in the entire town. But when I grew up there, you know, we were a small 2A high school in South Alabama. You know, it was football Friday nights.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you had. Outside of that, it was, you know, it's very small town. Very small town. We where I lived is actually called Norville. It's outside of Laverne, and it's way off out in the country. I mean, but Laverne is actually, I know a lot of people that travel down 65, cut through and take 331 down to go to Panama City.
Yep.
And if you've been to Panama City, you've went through Laverne. But it's like it's a 3 red light town. You blink, you miss it. So.
I'm sure I'll head down there this summer at some point, so I'll keep an eye out for it.
There are some big deer down there, though.
Really?
There are some big deer down there, though.
Now, did you grow up hunting?
I did. I actually really didn't get into it till I was, 12 or 13 years old.
Yep.
I wanted to get into it, earlier, but we didn't have an opportunity. We didn't have any land around that we could hunt. And about 12, my dad, he worked with a guy. His name was Barry. He had a few acres of land, and he said, we got a camera out here. We got corn on it. We got plenty of deer out here. And that was back before it was legal to hunt over corn. So you had to get them in with the corn, and then you had to take it off.
Clear it out.
Clear it out.
Yep.
And I got my first deer when I was 12, and I broke my nose doing it.
How so?
So my dad walks out to the stand with me. We climb up the stand. It was a double man stand, and we sit down.
Was it a ladder stand or a box stand?
It was a 20-foot ladder stand.
Gotcha.
And I had never been in a stand before, and before before I got used to the heights, I was kind of I don't like this. But we get up there, and not even 20 minutes into the hunt, a deer comes out right below us, and it was a spike. I'll never forget this. And Dad didn't do much hunting in his life, so I guess he didn't know you shouldn't kill that deer. But I just remember he said just easy, and I leaned down. I mean, he's directly below us, like 20 feet. He's right below us, and I put the scope right on his back, and it shot up when I shot and hit me right in the nose.
The scope did.
Yeah, my nose was bleeding. My eyes started watering. My blood's pumping, and I'm like, I got him. I didn't care about my nose.
Did you lay him down right there?
Oh yeah, he dropped instantly. And my dad was like, I think you broke your nose. And I said, I don't care. I got my first deer.
What time of year was it?
It was December.
Okay.
It was middle of December, and he had just gotten
Fairly
off
cold?
work. My dad at the time was working for a distribution center, and he got off at like 2 a.m.
Okay.
So he comes from work, and he's like, I'm going to be there at 3:30 to get you. And of course, I was like a kid on Christmas. I was like, I'm ready to go hunting. I've never been before. And he got me about 3:30, and we went to the stand, and the rest is history, I guess.
What type of gun were you shooting?
It was now this is a weird, usually you hear of 30-06. It was a 25-06.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
It was a break barrel, so I had one shot. I mean, if I miss him, he's probably going to run, and I'll never see him again. But it was a break barrel, and I laid him down, so.
Good for you.
And then it started, of course, this craze. Like, I had to do it then. It's like, it is the sportsman in me now. That started then, for sure.
How did processing the deer go, since it was your first deer and your dad wasn't that familiar with it? Do you remember that at all?
He knew of it. Like his granddad took him hunting too. Like he had been hunting before. It's just been a very long time for him. It's not something I guess that he really enjoyed doing. Yeah. But the one thing that I will never forget is that he told me after it, he's like, you got to drink the blood, right?
Drink it.
And I was like, no, I don't. There's no way. So we get back and we're field dressing the deer, and he's like, yeah, you got to drink this blood. So me not thinking, I'm thinking he's got to know. He's telling me the truth. So I take a sip of it, and of course I threw up immediately. Like, it was terrible. And he goes, I was just kidding with you, dude. All you got to do is put some on your face. And I was like, that still sounds terrible. But
I've seen people taking a bite of the heart raw, and then that's a pretty common occurrence that I've seen. But then we've toned it down a bit, and we just cook the heart and serve it. Depending on the time of day, you might wait for the next morning and cook it with eggs or something of that nature, and or fry it up as an appetizer before dinner.
I think there's so many different like traditions, or if it's your first, that people just do differently according to where you live, really. I mean, I've heard, to paint under your eyes with the blood, and then I've heard, obviously, to drink it now, which was a joke.
Now, you shot the deer in the top, like in between the shoulder blades, I take it. So it was directly under
under me.
That happened to me recently. We do a Gold Star Wives hunt, so we bring widows of fallen Navy SEALs out to Jay's Ranch in Kentucky and bring them hunting. And we did that just a couple weeks ago, or a month or two ago. And it was right before Thanksgiving, now that I think about it. And I was with one of my good buddies. I was with his wife, and she hadn't shot anything. I think this was the second evening we're hunting. And she's like, I just know it's going to happen with you, because you and Devin were so close. And a nice doe walks out. I'm like, Margie, that's a shooter. Let's just give it a bit. And she comes in, by the feeder, turns around, does a 180. And then I'm like, all right, it's on you. She was clear of the feeder, and she just hammered the doe, maybe ran 20 yards. And then another doe walks out. And I'm like, well, you want to shoot it? She goes, absolutely. Boom, drops another one. Another doe walks out. And I'm like, well, we have plenty of tags, and I'll send you all the meat, so let's go. And these girls really want the meat, right? And laid another one down. And then I was texting one of my buddies that was hunting with another widow, and he's like, oh, Mishka has 3 does down. And as soon as I read that, or I pulled up my phone, Margie saw my phone, and she goes, oh, man, we have to beat her. I'm like, okay. And then I'll be damned, I look over, and there's a doe right underneath us. And we're in an enclosed box stand. And we have to wait for that thing to at least get, I don't know, maybe 5 yards in front of us. Otherwise, it wasn't that.
Otherwise you can't get
it wasn't
shot.
a 20-foot box yet, maybe 15 foot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out, right in front of the stand and just laid her down right there. But that was probably the one incident I have that's close to yours of shooting something right underneath me. I've had a couple bow shots like that or opportunities that I did not shoot because I didn't want to, miss a little bit and miss its spine or something like that. And I've heard a couple horror stories of guys doing it with bows, but that's a very difficult shot.
I actually had kind of a wild story from here recently. Actually, I was telling you earlier before we got on here about the deer that I took, about 3 weeks ago now.
Yep.
Probably the biggest buck of my life. Was
Really? Let's
really
hear
nice
this one.
deer. Well, the week before this, we had a really nice 8-point on camera that was, just a monster deer, real nice, tall brow tines, just beautiful deer. And a buddy of mine that had really only been public land hunting, 2 or 3 times, he said, I really want to get the full experience. I want to get the experience of having to cape him yourself. And
Yep.
he wanted to get the whole 9. So he said, is there any way I can go hunt with you? And I said, yeah. Come out here, just be at my house in the morning. We'll go down to Shelbyville, which is where I have some land down there that we go and hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, just be at my house at 2:30 because we need to be in the stand by 5. It
Yep.
takes us about 2 hours from where I was living at in Brentwood to get down there. And he was there. We got there, and right at daylight, after we sat in the box, a nice 8-point walks out behind us. It's not the deer that that I'd seen on camera. And he had a scope on that was fully digital, and he couldn't find him in the scope because it was so zoomed in, like it was 15
really?
times.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
it was really zoomed in. I said, if you don't shoot right now, Chris, he's gonna run. And about the time I got those words out, he started stomping that front foot, and he was like, "No, I'm not having any of this." And he took off. And we waited, and I said, "I don't know if we're gonna get an opportunity like that again, but let's just wait and let's let it get quiet again." So probably about an hour later, the 8-point that I saw on camera, we saw about 100 yards from where we were sitting, there was a field of broom sage, and we just saw antlers. And we're like, that's a good deer. We don't know what that is, but that's a good deer. And then it was like he just disappeared. Didn't see him for 25, 30 minutes. We saw his antlers, and then that was it. We didn't know if he bedded down or what. But we're sitting there, and I said, Chris, there he is. He's coming from your right. I said, don't move right now because the box, the windows are probably 1.5 feet, wide open. And they're very particular. If they smell you or if they see any movement, they're gone. And he got down there. Well, he gets the scope on him. He walks right to where there's an opening. It's like we're sitting on a little trail here, and he walks right into the opening. And
Are you guys in a enclosed box stand?
Enclosed box stand, and Chris he puts his rifle out the window, and he gets it on him, and his scope dies. And by this time, the deer
was it a cold morning?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
By this time, the deer is looking at us.
Yeah.
He knows we're there. He hasn't quite figured out what we are, but he gets it turned back on, and luckily he had it right in the kill zone, and he dropped him. And I just remember it's one of those rewarding feelings where I was like, God, I brought somebody that killed the monster. Like I was sad because as a hunter, you want to take it. You want to take that shot. But I felt it was a different kind of feeling that I provided that for someone else. And this is where it leads me to my funny part. And I ain't gonna take too much time on this one. But
Go for it.
A week later, I've got the camera's still out there. We've put corn back out, and these deer come in and they wipe the corn clean. You ain't got to worry about it being there because it's gone within the first night. And we get this just massive 12-point on camera, and it kind of makes you believe like maybe that 8-point was scaring this 12 off.
Yeah.
And now he's the man. He can come in here now. Well, I get this 12-point on camera, and I send it to my buddy Chris, and I said, "Dude, there's another deer in there. I'm gonna try to hunt it next week sometime." And so this was a week after I had lended my truck to my father. He had needed to pull some brush or something from his house to the landfill, and I had only thing that I had was my Mercedes Sprinter van. And I don't know, about 3 weeks ago when it rained for 2 or 3 days solid. Yeah. So I get out there to the stand. I've driven this 2-wheel drive Mercedes Sprinter van out to the stand, and I walk up to the box, and I sit there. And not even 30 minutes after I sit there, starts pouring rain, just coming down. I'm like, well, I'm not going to see anything today. Nothing's going to walk. And as soon as I'm going to get up, I see that deer.
Really?
Just crest. He jumps the fence. There's a fence where the property line meets. He jumps over.
Still pouring rain.
Into our side of the property while it's pouring rain. And I had I've gotten so used to hunting with my 30-30 now. Like it's my go-to. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, that's him. That's the monster. That's the monster. And I don't see him, again for like 5 minutes. And then here he comes again. He's walking straight to me. And I don't know about you, but it was like, I don't know, it was going through my head. If I don't shoot now, I'm not going to get the opportunity again. Yep. But as soon as he turned broadside to me, I dropped him. But then that's when the chaos ensued. It's flooding. I'm in a 2-wheel drive Sprinter van. Where am I going to put this deer? So what ends up happening, I take my belt off. I put it around his antlers.
Yep.
And I'm dragging him. I got to drag him 250 yards out of the woods because I can't take the van back there.
Yeah.
I get him to the van, and I'm like, am I going to put him on the hood? Where am I going to put this thing? So I undo the side doors, and I put him in the van.
Did you have a tarp or anything?
I had a tarp, but when I tell you, it was just, there was blood everywhere. It was horrid. Like I'm still cleaning blood out of the van, but I got to the processor because I didn't have time to field dress him or anything. And he comes to the back there, and he's like, where's this deer at? He said, is your buddy bringing him on a truck? I said, he's in a Sprinter van right here. He said, this is the most redneck shit I've ever seen. But that was one for the ages for sure. I thought I was going to get sick after that because, man, I thought I was going to die dragging that thing out of the woods with my belt. But I got him in that Sprinter van, and now I got to tell my band members, if you smell something, it's just get over it. It's fine.
I did read that 5 people in Minnesota died this year hauling deer out.
Really?
Dragging deer out. Yep, heart attacks. Yep.
And I can see why, dude. When I'm telling you, about probably 15, 20 yards from the van, I'm pulling that thing. And I don't know if you've ever been so tired where your legs just won't work.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to pull him back, and my legs it just wouldn't go. They wouldn't go. And I don't know how I mustered it up to get him in there, but the worst part was I had to open both side doors. It's pouring rain and pull him through, and I just fell out the other side. I just laid there. Rain was beating me in the face. I'm like, dear God, just don't let me die right now. Just don't let this be the way I'm taken out. But I survived.
You mentioned the feeling about bringing someone else hunting and putting them on a deer. I've had people do that for me for a long time because I didn't, start deer hunting until, I don't know, 2008-ish, really, and then got really into it. Luckily, I had met an awesome gentleman by the name of Ron Pogue, and he had a lease, and I joined his lease, and he was an old timer, so he showed me everything. I didn't know how to do much, right? And now Jay and I bring folks hunting, mainly Gold Star wives, and I'm at the point now where I get more excited when someone else shoots something than when I do. It's just such a rewarding feeling to sit there with them and watch them, harvest an animal, and like the thought process, the excitement. I was hunting with this gal last year, and it was last January. We did the Gold Star Wives hunt for the first time, and I was trying to range this doe, and my hand was shaking so bad I had trouble ranging the doe. I wasn't even shooting. I was just sitting there, but she was shooting with a crossbow, so I wanted to make sure I give her, good gouge, and it was walking away. So at first I finally get on it, my hand's shaking, like, 30 yards, 35 yards, 40 yards, 45 yards, 50 yards. I'm going to stop her. Meh. Turn a little bit broadside, cornering away, and this girl, Rebecca, just thumped her. Oh, yeah. It sounded like this deer got hit with a wiffle ball bat. Yeah, one of those Raven crossbows,
I think it almost makes it worse for you when you're spotting.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're afraid if you bump something and you spook it away, you've ruined the person's hunt.
Man.
Yes. I think because I was sitting there, and when Chris was doing that, I remember like Ryan, you shouldn't be talking right now because the deer's
Mm-hmm.
50, 60 yards away. But I said, if you don't take the shot right now,
Yeah.
he's gone, and luckily he got that thing back on.
So, I've seen all these electronic scopes, and that's the one thing, your story is the one thing that always makes me hesitant. Like maybe I'd put a red dot on top of it or something like that. But when you're out there hunting for hours on end, and it's, if it's a day like today, what's it, 27 out, your batteries are going to die really quick.
Yeah.
And then, your target animal or the biggest buck you've ever seen is going to walk out.
To walk out.
Yeah. And you don't have crosshairs to put it on it.
It always happens like that. My my fiance's brother-in-law he's the past few times I've went hunting with him, he's hunting with a 357 Magnum
pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
He's been hunting on like a little lane.
Yeah.
It's probably the furthest shot's probably 30 or 40 yards, and it's got a big old you ever seen those Hollow Sun sights?
Mm-hmm.
Got a red dot on top of it, and I said, "You're gonna hunt with that?" And he said, "Heck yeah, I am."
Handgun hunting is becoming a thing, and I bought a Smith & Wesson 465 handgun recently, or I said recently, like 3 years ago, and for the point of getting into hunting with it, because I was up bear hunting in Maine a good handful of years ago, and a gentleman I was with is a handgun hunter, and he harvested a really nice black bear with a handgun. So it intrigued me quite a bit, and he liked it for numerous reasons. But the main one that he mentioned was I can move it, easily in a deer stand and in a ground blind and or anywhere, and I'm just extremely comfortable with this weapon system. I'm like, all right, that makes a lot of sense, and so I bought one and to go bear hunting with. I have not been bear hunting with it yet, but I was. Another major decision, me buying this, gigantic hand cannon, was I was hiking, and my oldest daughter, I have three little girls. My oldest is 8 right now, but I think she had to been 2-ish, right? So we just had one kid, and I had her on my back, and this is up in Northern Virginia. We're hiking, and we've seen one or two bears, but pretty far away. We're walking down this hill, hit a little flat spot, and I hear something, and maybe 20 yards away at the furthest, this big black bear stands up on his hind legs and starts jumping its jowls or whatever they call it, like doing that, which is a sign of aggression. And all I had is a 9mm pistol on me and my daughter on my back, and this bear is standing straight up, and it looks aggressive. So I have my in-laws and my wife with me. I tell my wife, Katie, I'm like, get ready to plug June's ears. And so I have my pistol out and I'm yelling at it. And it takes a step over the log and takes like 2 or 3 slow steps towards us. I said, Katie, I'm about to start shooting it. And as soon as I said that, it made a hard right turn and went down into the valley, then up the other side. And I'm yelling at the whole time. Well, my daughter was on my back crying. And I no more than 30 seconds before I saw that bear, I thought to myself, she sounds like an animal in duress right now. And there's a lot of bears in this area. I wonder if it's going to attract a bear or something like that. I don't know if we just stumbled upon this bear, and or her crying had something to do with it. But it was at that point where I realized I need a bigger gun. So I bought that Smith & Wesson 465 or 464. I forget what it is. And it has these, Hornady makes these 300 grain bullets, bear busters or something like that.
You would have had to hit him in the perfect spot.
Oh my!
I mean, it probably would have just pissed him off.
It was going to be
honestly.
It was going to have to be some tight shooting real quick. Yeah, but
I've had that happen with hogs. I mean, you can about shoot them with anything, and they're hard to take down unless you've got something that's sure enough strong.
So another time I'm hunting with my wife, and she doesn't hunt, but she likes going along. She likes being outdoors, likes to exercise, the whole nine. And we're down in South Carolina at my grandparents' place on Lake Hartwell. Well, one of my grandfather's friends had some land, and he's like, hey, I know you want to go hunting while you're here. You can go hunt with my friend. They're going hog hunting. I said, perfect. And Katie came with me, went and met him. And I show up at first, I have my rifle and a sidearm. I have a little like 32 Kel-Tec I think I have just in my pocket. And the guy looks at me and looks at my gun and he goes, you won't be needing that later. And I'm like, I have no clue what that means. I'm like, okay, thought it was a joke. And or he said like, oh, that's the easy way. You're not going to need a gun later. We're going to do it a different way. It was something of that nature, right? A lot of ambiguity behind it. So my wife goes and walks like this thicket with this gentleman, and a bunch of hogs come running out. I shoot a couple of them, put them in the back of the pickup truck. Well, then a guy shows up, or I'm gonna call them kids, like early 20s, show up, pickup truck, a bunch of beagles, and 2 or 3 pit bulls. And I'm like, all right, what's going on here? He's like, well, we let the beagles go, and they could have been another species of dogs or another type of dogs, but they kind of looked like beagles. So I'm not a dog expert by any means. So they let these dogs go, and they're like, oh, these are the bay dogs. They'll find a big boar, and they'll circle it and bark at it, hold it in one spot. They have GPS collars on. Then we're going to drive up there, and we'll release the catch dogs. It's these pit bulls, and they had big like Kevlar necklaces on and Kevlar vest. And these pit bulls will hold the hog down, and then you're going to stab it. I said, well, okay. And we have a couple hogs in the back of the pickup truck at this point. And then you hear the dogs going off. The guy's looking at his GPS. He's like, yep, they have one bayed. We go down to it, and he hands me this big old Bowie knife. And he goes, you know what to do? I'm like, yeah, stab it. He's like, stick it in right behind his shoulder, then just wind him up like a Model T. I'm like, all right, you got it. So I did that, threw it in the bed of the pickup, and we're driving around because I let the bay dogs go again. And we're driving around, and Katie looks at me and goes, I think one of the hogs in the back of the pickup's alive. I said, no, it's probably just its nerves. And I look back, and it was sitting up like a dog, walking around the bed of the pickup. I'm like, oh, sure and shit, that thing's alive. So now I have to get in the bed of this pickup in my wife's truck, and I'm like, well, I can't shoot it with this little handgun. And so then I was able to, stab it and, put it down fairly quickly. But it was a hell of an experience. Those things are super
so
tough. And I shot with a .308 before.
And you know what's crazy about them is that I've heard now, I've never had one be aggressive with me, but I've heard that they're one of the more aggressive species in the woods. Like they'll attack you before most anything.
I've heard that too.
Never seen it happen, but
I've seen it on.
Heard it
I've seen it on the internet, of course, and everything like that. But I've done quite a bit of hog hunting. I've never had it happen, fortunately. But I'm sure it'd be a little bit of a rush. I mean, cause you get your shit together and shoot. Hell,
anytime I've seen them in like the circular pen, the drop pins. Yeah. You go up to the fence, they'll charge you.
Oh yeah,
real quick.
Co Weltzer on, and he was telling a story about he was bear hunting, and he went into a cave after a bear and shot it with his bow.
See, I've seen videos of that. I don't know if I could go bear hunting with a bow. That's some crazy stuff.
That's pretty ballsy. Yeah, I forget the whole story, but he crawled in there and he shot it.
Have you seen the Tim Wells guy?
Yeah,
that spear hunts.
The Schlock Master. They call
that is, dude. He is. How does he do it?
Did you see when he fell out of the tree in Africa? This is a long time ago, and speared himself, and I believe he cut his femoral artery in his leg. Had to give himself a tourniquet, and almost bled out.
But he's still doing it.
He is freaking good at it. He spears the shit out of animals.
I've never seen anybody that good with a spear.
Yeah.
And then now he's attaching GoPros to it.
Yep.
It's real cool to watch it.
And he's a hell of a shot with a blowgun. That's impressive too.
I saw a video. It's funny that you mentioned that, of him baboon hunting with a blowgun. Yeah.
I've been baboon hunting before, but not with the blowgun.
Not with the blowgun.
Those suckers, they're hard to get close to. They'll cover, a mile like that. So you
what do you usually shoot them with?
I think I had an incredibly large gun for the job because we were, it was me and my cousin. We went over to Africa, I think 2019, and we were hunting Cape Buffalo and also Impala. He actually killed the 45th biggest kudu ever killed in the world. I think it was like 46.5 inches or 47.5 inches, which is huge. And baboons were just, more of an opportunity thing, and they're a nuisance. They were ruining some of the cabins, eating through the thatched roofs on the property we were on. So we were able to go out and shoot a couple of them. So I shot it with a 365 H&H, which is a very, very large gun.
Very powerful.
But it was way up on this cliff face, and I see it, and the PH I was with saw it, and I get on the shooting sticks, and it's looking right at me, and I blast it. And he goes, I think you missed. It jumped really far. And I had a perfect follow through, and I was right back on it. My eyes never came off. I'm like, I drilled that thing. And he goes, I don't know. It jumped really high. I think you missed low. And I'm like, I don't think I did. And he's like, oh, we'll never know. I'm like, no, we're going to scale this cliff face. We're going to go fucking find out right now. And because I think I hit it. And we climb up this cliff face and get up there. And I hit the center punch it, and it flew, I don't know, 10 yards. It was impressive. Those things are big animals too.
Yes.
The next one I shoot, I was going to go to Africa this year, but at the same time as our family reunion. So I might go later on in the year, a different time, or next year. I want to get a baboon, and I want to get him a full body mount, and I'm going to put him in a tuxedo with a silver tray in his hand, and put him by the front door and put my keys on that little dish.
I've just recently gotten into suppressors and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
that's adding a new element.
So most countries, they encourage you to hunt with suppressors, right? And I think we're just a little behind the power curve there. Silencer Central is I think one of the best companies out there.
I used.
Is that who you use? Yeah, and they are educating the outdoorsmen and the local populace, if you will, on the benefits of using a suppressor, making it more of a streamlined process to get one. And I think everyone, coming from a guy that has hearing aids from shooting guns, I don't wear them right now, or I barely wear them. I should. I think suppressors are paramount, man. I think they're better for your hearing. They're better for your head, for the overpressure. They're better for the game in the area. It doesn't scare anything off, make everything weary. I think they're just good all around. I try to hunt with one every single time now.
Well, I wasn't, and then I started hunting with a guy that used one, and I was like, I have to get one now because that changed the landscape of it for me.
It is a game changer, man. What's up, guys? Sam Mackey here. I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge has no doubt made me a more effective and efficient hunter. Spartan Forge was founded by former U.S. Special Operations Intelligence Officer Bill Thompson, who took his 21 years of military experience fighting the global war on terror and applied his learnings to his true love, whitetail hunting. My favorite feature on the Spartan Forge app is the LiDAR for finding draws and funnels. It also has an AI deer movement prediction tool, so you know when and where to go. It has historical wind plots for selecting stand locations, and Cyber Scout for just about anything else I need to know. Spartan Forge, a veteran-owned and operated American mapping and scouting company. Use promo code OUTSIDER20 to save 20% on a premium membership to Spartan Forge. That's OUTSIDER20, OUTSIDER20. This episode is brought to you by Code Blue Scents. Code Blue's famous from one deer to one bottle collection process is a breakthrough technique that guarantees the certified deer urine comes from a single deer rather than several, producing the purest, most potent scents. Head over to codebluescents.com and check out the Rope-A-Dope kit. The weather-resistant rope soaks up rack rub gel, providing a lasting scent to stimulate rub activity on licking branches by mimicking a buck's forehead and preorbital gland scent. And also, check out the Gravedigger Scrape Mate Dripper. This versatile Scrape Mate Dripper can be used all season long. The adjustable dripper bag contains pure urine from a single buck enhanced with tarsal gland scent. Perfect for hanging over scrapes to keep them fresh or creating a scent trail as you walk to your hunting location. Visit www.codebluescents.com and use promo code OUTSIDER15, that is OUTSIDER15, to receive 15% off all Code Blue products. Multiple use is okay, cannot be combined with other promotions. Shifting gears here, did you do you come from a musical family, or how did you get into country music?
I really don't come from, I guess, a musical family per se. A few of the members on both my mom and dad's side sang and played instruments, but nobody ever really had a band or played the juke joints down there, or got out and did a lot of the things that I did when I was in Alabama. Didn't do any touring or it was kind of something that actually when I was 15 years old, my parents put me in guitar lessons and I remember going and I just wasn't at all interested. I guess it was the teenager in me. I wasn't interested. I got in and the guy was like trying to play a solo, and I'm like, I don't even know a chord yet, brother. I don't know a chord yet. And I lost interest in it real quick. And I think the second I turned about 17 or 18 years old, I was like, you know who likes guitarists and singers? Women. And I was like, I gotta learn to play guitar. And I remember the whole summer before my senior year, I was 17 years old. I was sitting in my room just watching YouTube video after YouTube video. And it was funny because the first song that I ever learned, most people learn to play chords and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna learn to play Sweet Child O' Mine on the guitar.
Gosh.
And I remember I learned it like note for note, and I went in there. I was so excited. I said, Dad, Mom, check this out. And I played Sweet Child O' Mine. That's cool. And I ended up, teaching myself the chords because I got intrigued with it then.
Yep.
Like it was, I'd went through the finger bleeding and everything else. I mean, I'm in it now. And I remember sitting down and I wrote my first song, and it was terrible. It was so bad, but I remember playing it for my mom and dad, and they were like, "That's good, honey. Maybe you should do something else." But I sat there, and it was one of those things where the hardest thing to do was figuring out how to play and sing at the same time. And once I got that down, then came this new love for writing. And I remember when I think I was around 21, 22 years old when I wrote my first song that I was like, hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff. And it wasn't until, I've been in music now. I've been, playing cover band shows when I was in college to now close to, 12 to 15 years now. But when I got into it good, it was something that was, I knew it was going to be really hard to break into, and still it's one of those things where even I feel like the people that are at the top of it, they're still not at their ceiling. There's truly, I don't think there is a ceiling in this. I think you're constantly just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, I'm trying to break into the scene now. As you were mentioning earlier, I've got my debut album coming out, January the 17th. And this is the first time I've ever released a full body of work. So for me, this is a really big deal.
How many songs are on your album?
12.
And then which one's your favorite? If you had to pick one.
Well, there's a song that is kind of this song about heartbreak that I think is going to be a really big one. It's called "When It Don't," and really it was the main focus track of the album, and it was what the actual album was named after, because part of that song is called, there's lyrics in that song that state "all I've ever known," and it was kind of one of those things where. Buddy of mine, Zach, that works with my label, he was thinking about it, and he was like, this collection of this songs is kind of all you've ever known, and it's just so happens that that's lyrics in one of your songs, and I said maybe that should be the title of the album, because to start with, it was called "In the Mirror," was the starting
I like that
title
too.
track,
Yeah,
and it's an actual track from the set of songs on the album, and they were both so descriptive, but the "all I've ever known" just stuck out because truly every one of these songs at some point, like there's some of them that probably are more fiction, because I did grow up with a mom and dad, and there's a song on the album about growing up with just a mother.
Yeah.
But it was truly something that I wrote based on friend interactions and stuff that my friends had went through, and you pull things from different aspects of the people that are around you, their lives too. And, when a song idea hits, at least for me, I got to start writing it right then.
Oh, really?
When I get the inspiration, I got to start putting, my thoughts on paper.
Is there a spot where you do your best thinking, or songs come to you more, naturally than others?
I've done the songwriters retreats, and I've done the obviously sitting in the studios and songwriting sessions with people, and we actually went this past year. We went to Ohio and did and wrote a few songs in Ohio in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's snowing, beautiful. But I will say, I think the best songs that I've ever written come from an idea when I'm just riding down the road.
Yeah.
And I will literally, like, if Caitlin's with me, I'll be like, Caitlin, get your notes out. This sounds good in my head.
Yeah.
And if she's not with me, I'll take my phone out and I'll do a voice memo of what it sounds like in my head. But I think the easiest place to write sometimes is just wherever you're at. You know, I find it hard sometimes when you're stuck in a room with especially with maybe two other people you've never met before.
Yeah.
You know pretty quick when you meet someone whether you're going to get a good product or not.
Yeah.
But I have found in recent months.
How so? Just off their presence?
You know, like me and you, I feel like me and you are kind of like we're outdoors, man.
Yeah.
We're kind of, you know, outgoing. Like, but I've found that this past year I've written with people that are nothing like me. And we get songs that are, you know, wonderful.
Really?
That are really good country songs. Like I've written with people from Los Angeles. I've written with people from Nashville. I've written with people from Alabama. And I think that getting to pull from every aspect of the country, or, you know, wherever they're from, it doesn't really, just because you're from Alabama doesn't mean you can write a good country song.
Yep.
And I guess my point is like, you know, I've written with people that when I got there, I was like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Like, what do you know about country? What do you know about being anything country? And really, they look to me for, like, I'm looking at you to get the country aspects out of it, but you're looking to me to get some of the melody aspects of it. Like, and it's like, you know, you end up complimenting each other in ways that you didn't think were possible. So obviously, I've sat in some rooms where, like, all three of us are super country. We all go hunting, and you know, we're gonna get a super country song out of it. And then you sit in some rooms where, you know, you feel like the song's a little bit more either rock infused or pop infused, but it's based upon who's in the room. You know.
So I was thinking about this podcast. Yesterday evening, and I talked to a lot of people about songwriting, you know, and like where their inspiration comes from. And a lot of it's just, you know, hey, it's how I grew up. It's who I am. It's how I like to live my life. And, or I just thought of this, you know, little one-liner, then wrote a song around it. Right. And I was laying there. I'm like, what would I write a sad country song about? I was like, what are the worst things that could happen? And immediately I thought, okay, your woman leaves you, and you go hunting, and your target buck comes out, and you shoot over its back, and you miss it, and you find out later on that day someone killed it on the neighbor property.
Oh,
like that could be a good country song.
It's funny that you say that. One of the songs on the album is called "Dear God," DEER, God, and I'll never forget this. This was right before hunting season last year ended, and I hadn't seen nothing all year, and I was thinking. And I was on the way back, and I told Caitlin, I said, I've got to get a deer this year. I mean, I'm in a drought. I haven't even seen a deer. I've got them all on camera, but I haven't seen anything. And there was 2 days left in hunting season. And I remember we had just come out of Birmingham Good, and we were about halfway to Huntsville. And we're driving down 65, and for some reason I get this idea, and I'm like, dear God, you know, like I'm praying going down the highway. Dear God, please just let me get a deer. You know, this. And then it hit me. It was like, oh my God, this is a song. This is a song. And the lyrics of this song is basically the punchline is, all I'm asking is, can I get a deer, God? And it's like this prayer.
That's pretty good.
That the country boy, you know, prays before he goes out. And I'm actually, in February, I'm going to the National Turkey, what is it called? NWTF.
Yep.
I'm going to their thing that they're having up here in Nashville.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And I'm going to debut that song there.
Oh, really?
Going to be playing that there. And it's going to be, it's cool because I've never played it like live yet.
Yeah.
But you got to listen. I'll let you listen to that before we go here.
Please.
But it's one of those.
Yeah, we don't. Our company doesn't have a booth at the NWTF this year. but I'm going to spend a couple days there, so I'll make sure to swing by and listen to you that evening for sure.
I actually noticed this emblem, an outsider.
Yeah.
Y'all did something with me a couple years back.
Really?
Y'all did. We didn't do an interview. I did an over the phone interview with someone, and it was a write up on the page and on y'all's website.
Yep.
For a single that I had coming out at the time.
Excellent.
I just saw the emblem. I was like, I've been around you guys before.
Yes, sir. Now drinkware is our main deal, as well as all our media properties. But these are our coffee mugs. They're called the AM. And the best part about it is the handle rotates so it fits in your cup holder.
Oh.
And
whose idea was that? That's
it was a combination of guys, mainly
ingenious.
Jay and Andy Johnson. I sell thousands and thousands of those a month.
That is
So
ingenious.
that's our main business that we have going on.
That's
I have
incredible.
a bunch more shit coming out here in the spring.
You got any
that
coolers
developed.
or anything? you're
Yep,
looking at
I
making?
got a backpack cooler that'll be out. I'll have it probably mid-March. And an over-the-shoulder cooler. We were working on a carbon fiber one, and it was going to be awesome. But I think we're a little ahead of our time because we couldn't get the resin to set up right. It was very strong, light, and the ice retention was through the roof, or the R factor, and you could stand on it and everything. But you hit it with a ball peen hammer, and the resin would crack. So I put that on the back burner and just focused on our drinkware and some soft coolers, adding some ingenuity to it. So we have some bangers coming out this year. So
I thought about that for a while. It's like when I'm going hunting and you're sitting there for 5 and 6 hours at a time. Sometimes just having a cooler out there that would be be good to take along.
We brought some ingenuity to our soft cooler, which is hard to do because almost everything has been made already when it comes to coolers. But we have a couple nuances to it that no one else has that I think could be, just enough to separate us, just like the turning handle in this coffee mug here. So I think it'll do well. And I just, I bring a cooler everywhere I go, right? And I drink coffee all the time, and or cocktails and tumblers. So it's something that I never thought I'd be doing, and that I fell into, and I just absolutely love.
I mean, I love things like that. Like for Christmas, my fiance got me a TaylorMade golf bag.
Oh yeah,
I love to golf too.
Me too.
And I noticed that right above where the front zipper is, they put on the new TaylorMade golf bags a cooler in the bag.
Cooler pocket. Yeah,
And I'm like,
I have
what
a
the
golf
heck?
bag with a little like 6-pack cooler
I
type
was like,
thing
what
in
the
it.
heck? And like you reach your hand down in there, and it's like a huge.
Yeah.
You can probably fit 5 or 6 in there.
It's glorious.
That's sick.
Where did you and Caitlin? Where'd you guys meet?
We actually met a mutual friend of mine and a mutual friend of hers. They were getting married, and the guy was like, I'm getting married to Kendall, and she's got this friend. Her name's Caitlin. She's real pretty, and she's single. And I was like, well, set me up. So, fast forward. He's a big Tennessee fan, and I hope I don't lose any cred with you here. I'm an Alabama fan.
Oh no shit.
Oh God. Well, me and him have known each other since college, and we never got along.
Where'd you go to
because
college?
of that? I went to Troy University.
Okay.
But we both went to Troy University, and I don't even know why he's a Tennessee fan. Like he grew up in Birmingham. Like why are you a Tennessee fan? But anyways, we ended up going. They were having a watch party for the Tennessee Alabama game.
Yeah.
We got to know each other at the Alabama Tennessee game, and I was like, I like you because every time Alabama would score, she'd scream. I was like, we're gonna get along just great. And then the rest is kind of history. We got engaged in June of this past year.
Good.
And wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You getting married anytime soon? You gonna let that marinate?
We're gonna let that marinate.
Yeah.
Especially right now. I mean,
A lot of shit going on.
just so much
Yeah.
going on. I mean, with the album coming out in January, and hopefully we're looking at we just got in we're partnered with CAA now, and it's one of those things where like if we're on tour this year, when are we gonna have time for a wedding this year? We're not rushing anything, but we know that when the time comes, we'll know. But
You mentioned something earlier about not having a place to hunt because you didn't have any, private land. And I'm going to throw a shameless plug out there. My buddy Nick owns a company, and it's called Land Trust.
Okay.
It's like Airbnb, but for hunting property. Like I
Really?
have some property in South Dakota, and I put it on the Land Trust website. So, for example, someone like yourself when you're younger, or anyone else that doesn't have private land, you go on to this website and you type in a state, in an area, and it pulls up all the private land around that people lease for a day or two. So essentially, it's like leasing property for a day. And so if you have game cam pics or anything like that, it makes your place more desirable, of course. But it's a very interesting website, or it's a very cool website. And if you're listening and you don't have private land to hunt on, I suggest checking it out because you can find some banger spots. Like my place in South Dakota, I think I've personally only been there 3 times, and I've owned it about, 12, 15 years, and it's loaded with game. So I rented out to some turkey hunters. Then someone just sent an inquiry about deer in the fall of this year, and so going to put them up at our cabin and let them go hunting out there. But it's a very cool website, so check it out. Land Trust. Nick, there's your shameless plug. But I just thought of this earlier when you were speaking. So
Actually, a few years back, I played a show, and you were talking about, I believe you were talking about women of is it? So what exactly, when y'all take those women hunting?
Gold Star Wives.
Gold Star Wives.
So they're widows of Navy SEALs.
Okay.
So I was in the SEAL teams for the last 20 years. I just
Okay.
retired in February last year, so about a year ago now. And so how it started is a gal reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're doing this shooting course, and most guys in the SEAL teams enjoy some aspects of the outdoors, right? And there's quite a bit of hunters, right? And I just want to." And the gal reached out. She's like, "Yeah, I just want to get into hunting so I can teach my kids and so on and so forth, and kind of carry on my husband's legacy." And so then I talked to Jay about it, and he's like, "Well, have them all down to Kentucky. Let's do one and see how it went, how it goes." And it went extremely well. So then we did another one. That was January of 24 was our first one. We did another one in November of 24, and I think we're going to do a spring turkey hunt this spring of 25. So they're widows of Navy SEALs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually got probably 3 or 4 years ago. I played this show up in Ohio. That was and I love going up there and playing. Like they're rabid country music fans up there. And I was playing this show. I got invited to play this show, and it was called the Sarshone Truck Show. It was in Sarshone, Ohio, or Randolph, Ohio, and it was just this huge truck show where people, would obviously bring, old timey trucks, big trucks, cars, you name it. Just you'd see some really cool stuff there, and the whole basis of it was they provided one veteran each year was wounded in battle with a service dog, and I had no clue that those service dogs cost as much as they do. But they're like anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000.
I know they're expensive.
A dog,
Yeah.
And they raise money there each year to provide one veteran with a service dog, and I come into contact. I don't even know if you know this fella or not. His name's Chris Miller, and he runs this. It's called Dogs for Our Brave that he runs, and
I have not heard of it.
And it's cool because I've now had 1 or 2 songs that I've written come. It's just funny. It goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier. The relationships that you get can bring a song out of you.
Yeah.
And, just being around him and those guys and hearing some of their stories brought a couple songs out of me. And now it's funny because he'll text me every now and then. And he's like, "Dude, I've got this song idea."
Really?
And I'm like, "Really? What is it? Let me know." And he's like, and he'll send me something. He'll even send me some lyrics. But I think it's really cool the relationships that you get along the way. Music is one of those things where I believe it's obviously everybody is so very different in their opinions and their viewpoints, but it's one of the only things that truly has the power to bring everybody together.
I agree. What is your bucket list hunt?
Bucket list hunt. Oh, You know, I've been seeing a lot. I've been watching a lot of elk hunting lately.
Yeah.
And I've never been, but that's something that I would really enjoy doing. But I've never really done the thing that I want to get into more often. Really, is long range shooting, because I'm used to the furthest shot I'm taking is 250 yards. I'm not going past that. Normally, where I'm hunting at right now, but I'd like to get into some long range shooting and do some elk hunting, or even like I've seen some people bow hunting them like really, really close on the ground.
I got my first elk this year, and out in Montana, and it's everything. Elk hunting's everything you think it would be. Like, to be in there with them, first of all, they're massive animals, and have them all around you. And I got mine with a bow, and it was. I mean, we had to pay the man, so we were hiking, 10 to 15 miles a day, and finally, and we were getting into them. And just never got an opportunity. And then finally, Jay and I went out one afternoon, got into him, and he's an extremely aggressive hunter. He's like, we just got to go right on him, because the bulls weren't coming in, because the does weren't nesterous yet, or the cows weren't nesterous yet. So we put as much of a move on him as we could, got as close as we could, and I let one fly, and it just worked out. But it is extremely satisfying. It is so cool there.
What do you do with all that meat? Like, how do you?
It's all in my freezer right now.
Is it a pretty good? I mean, it has to be a pretty good amount.
Yep. I was talking to the butcher, and he said you get an average of 300 to like 380 pounds of meat. So he's like, yeah, my guess is you got 320 pounds of meat.
Do you backstrap them out? Just like you do a deer and stuff?
Yes, sir. Same thing that I turned, you get all your different cuts, and they butcher them like a cattle.
How's an elk steak?
Is it delicious. Good? Yeah, my kids demolish it. Yeah.
That's the one thing that I hadn't had yet. Yeah. Hadn't had that.
They're really good. I would say it's better than deer for sure. And it's different than a bison, right? But it's just really good, lean, great meat.
One thing that I haven't quite gotten into, I hadn't fully submerged myself into this world yet, but duck hunting.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people that duck hunt, and I've been maybe a handful of times in my life, but the few times I've been, I've really enjoyed myself.
There's something I have not got deep into also, but I do know once people get into it, I mean, next thing you know, you're buying property and flooding fields. You got a boat. I mean, it can be a very expensive
One of my friends goes, I believe it's to Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
He goes to Arkansas every year, and he said, you just need to come out here 1 year. He said, you'll be back every year.
I was going to go to Arkansas at the end of this month, but my wife's taking a little trip, so I'm not going on that duck hunting trip. But the week after next, I'm going to go to the inauguration, then leave the inauguration, fly to Lubbock, Texas, and go on a goose hunt with a couple of my buddies. And I have never been goose hunting. I've shot a couple geese when it was goose season. We were duck hunting, and then happened to see them in a field, and I was probably 13 years old, maybe, and we just hopped out of the truck and ran after them. When they got up and started flying away, we blasted a couple. I think I got one or two, but that was the extent of my goose hunting experience. So,
let me ask you this: is your wife, does she eat the game?
Oh yeah,
that is my toughest thing right now. Is Caitlin will eat it, but she doesn't want to know that she's eating it.
So it started with my wife has always eaten wild game, but the thing that pushed her into like kind of only eating wild game is the health benefits. You know exactly where it comes from.
So much more lean, too.
Exactly. And we had our freezer shit the bed when we were on vacation last year, and I had almost a full bison in there, probably a half bison at this point, maybe a little bit more than half. And our freezer shit the bed, and we lost it all. And my wife was furious, as was I. But I turn a lot of it into hamburger meat, and she uses it for everything. And pretty much the only meat we buy would be, ribeyes, and I get those from my buddy who owns a cattle company called Little Belt. Greg's the freaking man, and or we'll do like a pork loin every now and again. But other than that, it's just wild game.
I think her and her sister, they're huge animal lovers, so it's tough for them to get over the. But once they understand it,
yeah.
But at the same time, I think the biggest benefit for her is we have a I think he's a year and 3 months now, old golden retriever.
Mm-hmm.
He loves deer meat.
Oh, really?
Loves it.
I think that's all that Jay feeds his dogs.
Loves it.
Is ground
And
deer meat.
it's about got to a point where he won't eat his dog food because he's like, I need that deer meat.
Yeah.
You know?
You just put it raw in his bowl?
You can put it raw in his bowl, but
Yeah.
most of the time we'll take some of that ground up meat and just
Yeah.
cook it on the stove, put it in his bowl, and he loves it, dude.
Oh.
Obviously, we don't salt it or anything.
Yeah.
We just throw it straight in his bowl. He loves it. Loves it. Loves it.
You know, you mentioned that your fiance is a big animal lover, and I am hard pressed to believe that there's a group that loves animals more than hunters.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the extent that hunters have gone from all, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, National Wildlife Turkey Federation, like all these organizations just into, spend all this time and energy and money just to preserve the game in the United States,
I think it's like anything else. With everything, there's always going to be a few bad apples
Yeah.
that have no business doing it, that probably give us a
Oh,
bad name.
absolutely.
There's always going to be a few bad apples.
That's
but
in
for the
every
most
arena.
part, every person that I know, like you said, loves animals.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer, and I think you are too, that if you kill it, you eat it.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it should be. And every hunter that I know goes by that same rule. Like it is tough to get on like YouTube sometimes or something and see a video. Like I saw a video the other day of these two bucks that had been fighting. Just one of them like was dead. Like they were locked, and the other one was just fighting away. You ever seen them get locked?
Yep.
And then what I didn't know is that
I've never seen it in real life,
is
but
they
I've
can
seen
get
videos of it.
locked and
Yeah.
just they can die like
Oh,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, this young hunter comes up and shoots him with a bow in a kill spot in the kill zone, but it doesn't drop him. And I'm like, just go ahead and put another one in him, because like the video was like 10 or 15 more minutes long of him still fighting the other buck. And I'm like, me or you probably would have put him down after that. But like I said, there's a few bad apples, but for the most part, when you get on like any type of YouTube channel or people that me and I mean, they're doing it the right way. They're doing it the right way. And half of them have wives or have girlfriends that are animal lovers too, like me and you. So
Yeah, I'm just running into an issue with wall space in my house now. So
that is the one thing. She's kind of like, so where is this one going? And I'm like, oh, this one's going above the bed. This is going above the bed.
So I went through that stage. So the where's this one's going progresses into we don't need another mount, honey. We have too many, don't mount it. And then you get it mounted and will be upset for a little bit. And now we're into she just doesn't even ask anymore. I mean, I have squirrels high-fiving on bar stools.
And
my buddy shot the squirrels.
And I think I was blessed enough to where she's like, if I tell her I'm going hunting, she's like, good, go have fun.
Yeah.
And hell, I'll say this, shout out to the exes on this one. I've been in relationships before. They were like, you're going hunting again, why are you doing that? And thank God I found one that's just like, you know what? You go do what you enjoy doing.
Yeah. And it's extremely healthy.
Yes.
It's extremely, you're waking up early, you're getting outside, you're learning about, all sorts of types of wild game, their movements, their habits, everything. And, it's not until you bring someone that is a novice hunter out and they see how much work goes into the harvest of one animal. If I was going to sell deer meat, shit, it'd probably be $100 a pound. All the time and money I have wrapped up into harvesting, one animal.
That is the one thing. She can't go hunting with me now. Now, I would love it if she could, but she will talk. She will talk the entire time. I remember the one and only time I've ever taken her. We were down in Alabama in Union Springs. We get into this box, and it was an afternoon hunt because she wasn't getting up to go when it was as cold as it was this day. But we get out there, and it was the day of the Iron Bowl. Believe it or not, Alabama and Auburn's playing. So she's got YouTube over here. She's got the game pulled up, and this pretty nice sized bobcat is probably 10 to 15 yards from us. She starts slapping me on the back. She's like, "Oh, it's a bobcat!" And of course, the bobcat's like looking up at us, and I was like, "It can hear you. It can hear you."
The first time I brought my wife deer hunting, this is a long time ago, probably 2009, and there was a power line trail, and there's a very evident game trail that went across.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hey, let's just sit up here on this hill. We'll have this hill behind us so we're not silhouetted, and we'll just see what crosses here. Because I know they cross right here. Shit, we're sitting there 10 minutes, and then she picks up a stick, and she's like scraping this down log, making all sorts of noise. I'm like, Katie, you gotta be a little quieter. And she's trying to sit still, and she goes, maybe we should walk around and look for him. We might see more. I said, you know what, hon? I think you're right. Let's just go ahead and walk around and look for him. But so then she didn't come deer hunting with me for a long time. But she goes bird hunting with me. Her family's from South Dakota, from Parkston, South Dakota, great little town. And so we go up there for Christmas every year, and sometimes other times of the year, and do a lot of pheasant hunting. And she's the best pheasant hunter because she'll go walk in the thicket or in the middle of a row of trees where you can't even see out of, and flush out birds while we're walking on a nice little manicured bush hog trail.
That is some of the craziest hunting I've ever seen, though. I was in South Alabama with a buddy of mine. They were running dogs. They were running dogs, and there's I don't know if it's 2 weeks or it's not very long. You get like 2 weeks to run. You can run deer with dogs in Alabama, in this area. And basically what you do is you get on, you all get on a road, and you're probably 75 to 100 yards away from
shotgun,
the next
double
person,
buck.
and double alt buck.
Yep.
And every shotgun, you've got 10 people out there, and they're all across this lane. And I'll never forget the first time that I did that. I had a doe ran up on me, and I shot her, and she like fell on me. Like you hear the dogs start going crazy, and then all of a sudden you hear the damn woods just sound like they're being tore down.
Yep.
And here comes just a pile of deer running out. But there's been times where you're sitting there and you're like, you hear somebody shoot, and then you hear, it sounds like rain, pellets just hitting, just hitting the ground. You're like, golly, that was kind of close.
They did that in Virginia, and it was hard because the lease that I had with some friends, we just were still hunters, hunting tree stands, and they would run dogs all around us, and there was so much pressure. Shit, I would go up there 3-4 weekends in a row and maybe see one deer, right? And it was probably, a small doe, right? Like a yearling. And then I meet some friends in Texas, and a guy that I worked with, Morgan Luttrell, he's from Texas, and he's a congressman now. And he had me out to Texas and go sit in a deer blind, and that feeder goes off at like 6:50 or whatever time it was in the morning. And shit, more deer come out of the mesquite trees coming to eat corn than I seen all year in one morning. Then I started doing the math. I'm like, well, I have the lease. I have, it was like a 2-hour drive to my hunt club, and then, poker money, beer money, all that for the weekend. I'm like, shit, I can go to Texas 2 or 3 times a year for the amount of money I spend hunting in Virginia. So that's what I started doing. And I still go to Texas. I'm going there, next week or the week after next. Still go to Texas a good handful of times a year to hunt. Texas is one of the best states.
If you had to choose, is Texas your state? If you had to choose to go hunt whitetail, where would you go?
Ooh, great question. Now, I've killed the biggest deer in my life in Texas. I have yet to do any whitetail hunting up north, in South Dakota, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, so Midwest, up north. But for what I know now, and if someone said, hey, book a whitetail deer hunting trip right now, I would default to Texas, South Texas.
My dad swears up and down he flies to Iowa a lot.
Yeah.
He said he's never seen deer that big.
Oh, yeah.
He said that they're huge out there, too.
I've never hunted there. I'd really like to. My cousin, he just retired from the NFL, and he has a spot up in South Dakota, a couple thousand acres, and he's had it a while now, and he's offered me to go hunt on it, but I didn't want to hunt without him because he was playing football. So I think next year I'm going to put in for a tag and go hunt up there, because he bought the place and had 200-inch deer on it, and it's along the Missouri River. It's just beautiful out there.
Well, you got my number now. Yeah. Call me when you go.
Absolutely. So what else do you have coming up this year?
Well, it's
what hunts and what music stuff?
I believe it's going to be probably the busiest year of my career. We're obviously looking at, just copious amounts of tours that I could possibly be on. Hoping to be, by March or probably April to be, starting, the first leg of a tour. But, we got the album January the 17th, and heck, when I leave here, I've got an interview today, another interview at 2:00 today, and then I've got something tomorrow and a songwriting session on Friday. So we're hard at work. Not only it's crazy the amount of work that still goes on, even though the album's coming out. You're writing for another one.
Oh, I bet.
Already, and it's like there's so much going on. But I guess being busy is a sign that you're doing something the right way.
I agree with that. I'm extremely busy already, this year, and finished last year really well with our company and everything. But one thing I've found is this: I do this to myself, but I don't know if I encourage it. It's personality based. But when I have success, it just makes me want to work harder. And when I have bad days, the only way to turn that bad day into a positive is to work twice as hard. Right. And then you turn that into a positive and you get a win, for us, like, selling a lot of drinkware or whatever that win looks like. Then it makes me work harder than I did when I had bad days to create another win. And it's a very addicting and process, but I love it.
I think and it's the same for you, I'm sure. I mean, for me, I feel like, if I'm not working hard, then it's not as rewarding. I mean, when you're working hard and it pays off for you, you feel twice as rewarded,
It makes me happier.
Exactly.
For sure. Like working really hard is hard, right? And but when you see the fruits of your labor, it's addicting. Yep. At least for me it is.
And like in the position that I'm in, obviously I don't work a 9-to-5 job. Yep. I don't have a 401k. I don't have a backup plan. So anything that I do now is solely based upon what I'm doing. You know, like the money that I'm saving, the house that I'm living, whatever it may be, is going to be because I had to go out and do it.
Yep.
And if I don't do it, what's my future look like?
It's a lot of similarities to a startup company like we're running. I have my goals and I have my dreams, and I'm the only person that's going to keep me from them, and I'm the only person that's going to go get them.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it.
And my dad's told me, for years, my granddad told me, if you sit around waiting, for somebody to hand you something out, you're never going to really amount to anything.
That's a fact.
Go and get it yourself. And I believe that my entire career has been based around that. Obviously, when I was younger, I was hard-headed, and I didn't want to do. When you're younger, you don't really care, or not really that you don't care. You just don't feel about life the way that you do when you've lived, life, and you've been able to see how hard it truly is out here, and like even people that are millionaires, billionaires, they started somewhere. They started somewhere, and it's like, I believe that if you're not hungry nowadays, you're not going to make it.
That's a fact.
You're not going to make it. So,
I'm 40 now and retired from the military, and now I feel like a lot of times I'm not going to say behind the power curve, but time is not on my side. I'm not, I didn't start a company, in my late 20s or early 30s. However, what tampers that or dampers that feeling is I bring just all my life experience into my current organization, right? And I close that time gap a lot faster, right? I think I can get a lot further a lot quicker. But there is a lot of pressures that I put on myself, and I don't know, they're not external. It's all inside of me. But I welcome them. I like the pressure. Like you, I don't have a plan B.
I think if you're going to win, you have to be your biggest critic.
Yeah.
If you ever get to a point where you feel satisfied, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. If comfort kills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to build on your question, it's going to be a busy year, probably the busiest of my career. But I mean, I'll tell you this, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and this is kind of more on the personal side of things. You know, I was going through a divorce, pretty nasty divorce, where I lost almost everything, and I moved to Nashville with nothing, and now, you know, I'm not working a 9 to 5, and I'm writing songs, and I'm playing songs on the road, because there was a lot of that will that you're talking about of there is no fail in this. There's only, you know, succeeding, because if you fail, you're done. And there was a lot of times where even you, I'm sure, felt like, I can't do this shit anymore. You know, but the ones that power through are the ones that ultimately end up, you know, making it the furthest.
Oh, I've had some hard days, my friend.
And there probably still be hard days to come.
Pushed my computer away, put my
Always.
head on the desk. This is last year, early last year, mid last year, I can't remember. And put my head on the table, and my wife walks in. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm just struggling right now, right? It was just a bad day, maybe a bad week. I don't remember what was going on. And she looked at me and said, "I've never seen you like this. Pick your head up and quit feeling sorry for yourself." And that's exactly what I needed. Yeah. And then I just worked harder to get rid of that bad day. But when I retired from the military, I could have stayed up in Virginia Beach, and we were in a little groove, a great neighborhood. Everything was really, really comfortable. And I'm like, oh, with my retirement and doing this startup, you know, we could be extremely comfortable up here. But I know I don't work well in that environment, because I'll just find excuses and to not do something. I could do this tomorrow, so on and so forth. So that's when I made a decision. I said, all right, Katie, we're going to move to Nashville and make sure we pick a good neighborhood that the kids will like. And I'm just going to work my ass off, because I don't know many. I just knew Jay and a gentleman by the name of Andy Johnson, who's, you know, I love, he's the man. I just knew 2 people, you know, but I knew if I got outside my comfort zone, moved down here, my back would be against the wall, and it was either perform or, in my mind, be publicly shamed, you know, and go down there and fail, right? And that's the way I know I can get the best performance out of myself, is just with my back against the wall like that.
Well, I feel like you're probably a lot like me in the fact that I get very complacent when I'm sitting still.
Oh yeah.
For, you know, if I'm not doing something that's helping me progress, then I feel like I'm doing something I don't need to be doing.
Oh yeah.
You know, if I'm not on a podcast, or if I'm not playing a show, or if I'm not writing a song, I can't just sit at the house.
Yeah, I'll feel like a loser and like I'm letting everybody down.
Exactly. I think and that's the difference. You know, it just boils down to it, and this probably shows my cards a little bit, but there's winners and there's losers.
Yep.
You know, which one do you want to be?
That's a fact. Well, brother, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I really do. Where can everyone find you? I know Ryan Waters Band on IG.
IG and Facebook is all Ryan Waters Band. I believe TikTok is Ryan Waters Band too. We have also got a X now.
Oh, there you go.
Twitter. But everything is at Ryan Waters Band. They can find us on there, and, you know, most importantly, go and follow us on, you know, the music platforms, Spotify and Apple Music.
Can they pre-save your album that's coming out January 17th?
They can. There's actually, if you go and give us a follow on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, there is a link there, you know, right under where it shows my profile picture and name. If you click that, you can click and you can pre-save the entire album.
Perfect.
That's coming out on the 17th.
Excellent. All right, folks, go pre-save Ryan Waters' new album, All I've Ever Known, on Spotify. Do him a huge favor. He's a great guy. So follow him, check him out.
Thank you.
Best of luck, my man.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure having you.
Pleasure.